Megji, please go ahead.
Om Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Purananyaya Mimamsa Dharma Shastranga Mishritaha Vedaha Sthanani Vidyanam Dharmasya Cha Chaturdasha Ayurvedo Dhanurvedo Gandharvaschaiva Te Trayah Arthashastram Chaturthantu Vidyaha Ashtadashaivatah. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. I welcome Dr. Kulkarni and everyone else who have joined us today for this interesting conversation on Samsadhini, the impressive Sanskrit Computational Toolkit built under the inspiring leadership. At least I find Dr. Kulkarni very inspiring and her body of work, under the inspiring leadership of Professor Kulkarni at the University of Hyderabad. A few words to introduce Professor Kulkarni. She is the founder head of the Department of Sanskrit Studies, University of Hyderabad, as I mentioned, and is a computational linguist. She's engaged in showing the relevance of Indian grammatical tradition to the field of computational linguistics. Under her leadership, several computational tools for Sanskrit, including a prototype of Sanskrit Hindi machine translation system, have been and are being developed. In 2015, she was awarded a Vishishta Sanskrit Sevarthi Samman by the Central Sanskrit University, erstwhile Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan, for her contribution to the studies and research on Sanskrit-based knowledge system. She was a fellow at the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla, a visiting faculty at IIT Ropar, at IIT Bhubaneswar, and at EPHE Paris. Recently, she authored a book, Sanskrit Parsing, based on the theories of Shabda Bodha, published jointly by the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla, and DK Print World. Normally, I would not read out a URL, but I'm going to make an exception in this case. Please do check out the link, https sanskrit.uohyd.ac.in/faculty/amba/ to know more about her research interests and to access the really long and impressive list of papers she has authored. Dr. Kulkarni, it is an honor to have you join us today and to speak about Samsadhini. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Meg, for inviting me. It's really a pleasure to be here with you and converse with you.
Thank you. So I would like to begin with, your arc, your life arc, and particularly your professional arc. So if you can help whoever is logged in today and are listening to it live in other forums, could you just tell us a little bit about how you got into doing what you're doing, starting from your education? Yeah.
Well, I have a basic degree in mathematics, basic training in mathematics. I did my master's in mathematics. And then I switched over to computer science. I was more interested in computer programming. Well, there is again a reason for that. I will not go in all those details. So, so I joined IIT Kanpur, and at that during that time when I was exploring the possibilities of working in the field of computer science, I found the work of Professor Vinit Chaitanya and Professor Sangar very inspiring. So I wrote to them and then I joined that team. I joined there as a project fellow, and at the same time I was also pursuing my another master's in computer science. So during that time, the team of Professor Sangal and Professor Rajiv Sangal and Professor K.V. Ramakrishnamacharyu from Tirupati, all of them were looking at the Indian grammatical tradition and trying to show its relevance in the context of machine translation, building machine translation systems. And I was very much fascinated by that work. And since we know that Sanskrit grammar is simply as perfect as mathematics. So being a student of mathematics, that grammar also was something which I was attracted to. And then I was looking at both the grammar as well as modeling that grammar from computational point of view, how to use it for solving the contemporary problem of language, overcoming the language barrier using machine translation systems and so on. These are some of the things which were ongoing at IIT Kanpur. And then when I joined that group, naturally, I was groomed with that group in doing, looking at the Indian tradition from a different perspective.
Excellent, excellent. And what year was that roughly when you joined that group?
It was 1990. In fact,
1990.
the work on machine translation had already started. I think during 1985 or 86, when Professor Vinit Chaitanya and Professor Rajiv Sangal, they joined together as a team. Professor Rajiv Sangal came from University of Pennsylvania, just a fresh PhD after securing PhD. He joined IIT Kanpur, and Professor Vinit Chaitanya also had joined during that time. So both of them together had joined hands, and Professor K.V. Ramakrishnamacharyu also joined with this group, and three of them were working on building machine translation system. This was roughly between 1985 to 90, and around 89, I came across their work, and then I was fascinated, and then in 1991 precisely, I joined them.
I see. Okay, great. And while I'm sure others are also waiting to look at specifically Samsadhini and learning about that, but before we come to that, I think it will also help, because your experience, at least in my in my own limited experience, your profile and your life arc is not very common, and not too many people have actually gone down that path. So I think at a time when there is slowly and seemingly an increasing interest, in different aspects of Sanskritam in India today, I think it might help people to know that in 1990, though the time then was different, what motivated, now we understand what kind of got you in, but to stay the course back then, I'm guessing might not have been very easy. So how could you just tell us what challenges you perhaps faced in seeing that first 5 or 10 years through? Or was it a cakewalk because you loved it so much and you just dived deep into it? Or it was maybe a mix of both? What was it in your case?
Well, see, from the career point of view, actually, let me tell you that I had resigned from the regular job and joined as a project fellow. So that means it was all temporary job, and with the family responsibility, it was difficult. But I had the passion, and see, when you do something which you like, even if you don't get much money, or even if you don't get other benefits, material benefits, it doesn't matter, because you are deeply involved in the things which you are interested in. It doesn't feel like a burden for you. The work it's not a work, but you are actually, it's a hobby which you are enjoying yourself. So it was something like that for me. And when I joined IIT Kanpur, actually I was doing my I had also joined for master's degree, and I was also working as a project fellow. So during that time, I was introduced to the Indian logic system, Navya Nyaya. And as a project work, I also took that as one of my topics to see how Indian logic, comparison of Indian logic with Western logic, or can I bridge the gap between the two? That's
Nice.
what I did during my master's. And of course,
Okay.
simultaneously, I was also developing, I was helping in developing various computational tools and so on. So I was part of the team where I was providing the programming expertise. So I was writing programs and building systems and all that. And also simultaneously looking at the linguistic aspects, how to model it and all. So of course, as far as the work is concerned, I was just working with a team of professors under their guidance. So it was not, I was not taking any lead. I was not a leader in the leading position. I was just following their instructions, try to understand what they are doing, and then also trying to look at the Indian grammatical tradition. I was attending various talks given by Professor Ramakrishnacharyulu or Professor Prahladacharya, Professor Shivajivan Bhattacharya. All these people, they used to visit us. We used to have workshops, and then we used to discuss on various aspects. So actually, this was a grooming period for me. And as they say, 12 years you need to be with the teachers. And really, from 1991 till 2002, I was with these teachers always. I was working with them, trying to understand what they are doing and all that. So that means I was not concentrating on writing papers, publishing papers and all that, but was interested in understanding what all is going on. And that gave me a sound base for my later life. So I was groomed with these teachers for almost 12 years. And then...
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and during that time, I was working on modern Indian languages, but I had a feeling always, since I had joined this group from the point of view of Sanskrit, though the application of Sanskrit Shastras to modern Indian languages is something which is important. At the same time, I always felt that I should do something for Sanskrit also. And this is where in 2002, when I was an adjunct faculty at IIIT Hyderabad, I found one student who was interested in Sanskrit. And then I asked him to develop a morphological analyzer for Sanskrit, guided him through various stages. And thus our first morphological analyzer for Sanskrit was ready. So at that time, of course, we had two possibilities. One is following Panini in toto. The other one is, instead of following Panini, we go for something, use the existing available tools and try to develop the morphological analyzer. The existing morphological tools, actually the finite state automata, which I used for developing morphological analyzer, there I found that actually the way Sanskrit is taught in the school, like we are taught the words Ramaha, Ramau, Ramaha, Prathama, the table, and then we are taught that all ending akaranta pullinga words will be like Rama, except of course Deva and Rama. In Rama there will be Natva, in Deva there won't be Natva, and so on. These are the things which are taught to us, and we use the same principle. This is called word and paradigm model, and we use the same model for building this finite state automata. And so we had this morphological analyzer ready by the end of 2004 or so. Then at this point in time, around 2005, something some another development took place, and that was Professor K.V. Ramakrishnacharyulu from Tirupati. Now it is National Sanskrit University. Earlier it was Rashtriya Sanskrit Vidyapitham. So he introduced one unique program. It was a 2-year master's program in theories of Shabda Bodha. And then myself and Professor Vinit Chaitanya, both of us, we decided to go there to teach some of the courses. So I moved from IIIT Hyderabad, from Hyderabad to Tirupati, and of course Professor Vinit Chaitanya also came there, and we were teaching some of the papers in this course. During that time, we found many students, around 10 students had joined there for that course that year. And most of them were very much enthusiastic. They didn't have any computer science background. They were all from Sanskrit background. But they were very much enthusiastic about the possibility of using Indian traditional knowledge for machine translation or whatever. So we used to have theoretical discussions related to how these shastras can be used either for Sanskrit or for other languages and so on, for building such communication tools. And at the same time, some of these students were also interested in developing some modules. So we thought, let us develop something like a very simple Sandhi joiner. And again, again for Sandhi joiner, we said, okay, we will not directly follow the Paninian system, but we will try to do something where students can give the rules in a simple way, like a matrix, in the form of a matrix, two-dimensional matrix, and we give the rules, etc., in the form of a table, and machine produces the Sandhi joiner. Of course, there were many challenges because, see, you have to, whatever Panini has given, you need to rewrite in a different way. So students should be very well versed with what Panini has done, and then try to translate it into another thing, another way. Fortunately, again, we had very good students who helped in this endeavor. Some 2 or 3 students, I think it was Dr. Pankaj Vyas, now he is in Tirupati as an assistant professor. Then another Sushma and I think Shivaja, 3 of them, they worked on this. And we had the Sandhi joiner ready by the end of 2005 or 6, I suppose, 2005. In 2005, we had this system ready with us.
Wow, interesting. So it is more like a one step at a time kind of a development as you progressed, or did you also have like a broad vision which was there in the back of your mind, and then you were building these steps? How did that work out?
Okay. So frankly speaking, between 2002 to 2006, I didn't have much idea about how to go about it. I had some rough idea, but not well defined. And essentially what I was looking for was, though I had some exposure to Sanskrit during my school days, I was finding it difficult to understand Sanskrit texts because most of the time I would not be knowing what is the vibhakti there. And then if there is ambiguity, I would be missing something and I will not be understanding the complete essence of it. Then I will have to go through the commentary, understand what is being said and all that. And then I realized that here computer can help me. I need not memorize all the things. Let me use computer's memory and my interpretation facility. So I will so it was again Professor Vinit Chaitanya's idea of distributing the load between a man and machine. Do some whatever machine can do, get the things done from machine, and whatever man is good at, let man do that first thing. So we know that in languages like Sanskrit, most of the time it is the word form, what is its analysis, that we might not know. Given a word, we may be missing out some of the morphological analysis. We will be using only, we will be knowing or looking at only the one which we are familiar with, but there might be other analysis also possible, which we might not have been exposed to because we have read only little literature. We are not, we have not learned the grammar formally and all that. So in such cases, machine can help us in giving us all possibilities, etc. And it is the human being who will intervene here when there are multiple possibilities in a given context. Which possibility is the correct one? Which possibility gives you better understanding of the text? That judgment, where you need to use the non-linguistic information like the word knowledge or the cultural knowledge or the context, there we will be using, as a human, we will be using our brain to decipher the text. So this is how the man-machine combination we were thinking of. And we had some kind of prototype or some working system ready for English, understanding English text. So the same prototype I thought I will use for Sanskrit. And then once we had these morphological analyzer and Sandhi joiner ready, I thought of developing it further. But then for that, we came up with, fortunately again here, there was, I came across one book, Sankshepa Ramayanam, which was published by the Sanskrit Samsadhāni. Kutumba Shastri, Professor Kutumba Shastri was the Vice Chancellor at that time. And he had edited this one. And Professor Lalit Kumar Tripathi, who worked with this, they had published this Sankshepa Ramayanam. And in that, what they did was, first a sloka is given, below it, its padacheda is given, then every word's analysis of every word is given, and then how one word is related to another word, that is explained, and then the anvaya is given, and then the English translation or Hindi translation and all that. Right. And that gave me complete picture of how I need to go with the modules. So that was the trigger point for me to develop the system. So what we did was, we developed a prototype for this, along with one student by then had joined for PhD with me, where I had joined this University of Hyderabad as a reader, and one student had joined with me for PhD, doing PhD. So with his help, we developed a kind of how the system would look like, what features it should have, what functionalities it should have. That prototype we developed. And and once that prototype was developed, next step was to develop various modules. And you here again, I am very actually impressed by our tradition. In the tradition, as a lakshana of vyakhyana, various texts, they have the vyakhyanas or commentaries, like Mallinatha's commentaries there on various texts. So what is the lakshana definition of commentary? And there they say, padachchedah padarthokti vigraho vakya yojana Akshepeshu samadhanam vyakhyanam panchalakshanam. So there are these 5 properties: Padacheda, Padarthokti, Vigraha, and Vakya Yojana. These are 4 important, and Akshepeshu samadhanam, for the time being I leave. So what they are telling is, first, given a text, you should do the Padacheda. Okay. After doing the Padacheda, you should now give the meaning of each padas, Padartha Ukti, Padarthokti. And then Vigraha, if there are compound words, then you give the Vigraha of that compound. And then Vakya Yojana, how the words are to be arranged. Because in a shloka form, the words are, they are in a different word order, which actually caters to the need of the meters, metrical analysis for metrical purpose. But in order to understand it, we need to arrange them in some order. And that order also, in the tradition, there is again another karika. It says how the anvaya should be done. And it says, Adau kartrupadam vachyam vitiyadi padaha tatha Tvatumun lyapcha madhetu kuryat ante kriyapadam. Okay. And then if you have visheshanas, what to do? Visheshanam puraskritya visheshyam tadanantaram kartru karma kriya yuktam etad anvaya lakshanam. So all these things actually help me in building the system.
Wonderful.
Because they have given me all the pointers. You need to do this. And so building the system was very easy because the flowchart was already there with me, right?
That's amazing how you showed that the tradition can be so relevant and can be very precise and specific enough to be able to guide something as sophisticated as what you're building for a topic which generally is not considered as easy to kind of build models around, especially language. The people have struggled when it is other languages, but perhaps it is something to do with Sanskritam for sure, and the tradition that has existed to be able to, like you said, guide and give a kind of a flow chart, so to speak, to act on it. Those examples are wonderful to help us understand. And it's also so nice to see a guide. I'm sure you're proud of your students, but you use words like help, and it's so nice to see that you kind of see them as part of your journey, and when you're narrating it, you brought beautifully named each one of them and named their contributions. I think they must have felt lucky to be with a guide like you. So before I request you to share your screen and actually dive into Samsadhini, there's one more kind of question that I had, which is if you look back now, right? We are in 2023, and if you look back over your last 20 plus years, is there anything that you would have done differently with the benefit of your experience? And what might have been, were there any big challenges which existed then which are not existing now, in terms of what were maybe your top 2-3 challenges back then, and do they continue to be challenges? I'm trying to ask this for people to know and get a sense whether things are broadly improving as you see as time passes, or do you see big challenges remaining? So if you could talk to these 2 things, I think that would be great.
Okay. So first thing is, if I knew Sanskrit better, I would have done it in a better way. I didn't know Sanskrit much because during school, whatever I studied, only that much I knew. But if I had known Sanskrit, especially the grammar, I would have done the things in a better way. That is one thing. Now here, let me also tell you that actually the Indian grammatical tradition, you may wonder that how can a theory which is developed around 2,500 years ago is relevant in the present context for machine translation or information technology, etc. So if we look at what the Indian grammatical tradition is dealing with is, they are dealing with 2 questions: how the communication between speaker and listener is taking place. So how the speaker encodes his thoughts in a language string, and when the listener listens to it, how he decodes that information. And for these two, we have a Panini's grammar for generating the sound string, the language string from the thoughts, and the theories of verbal cognition. Both these actually provide the science for building the technology. See, for developing any technology, if you have good scientific background, you can develop the technology in a better way.
Right.
As I said, this science can act as a knowledge base, okay, for evaluating the feasibility of the technology. Right. Okay. At the same time, it also provides you an engineering design, efficient engineering design for that matter. And as I had just now, I mentioned about these flowchart kind of thing, which I got from this. Various ideas I got from the theories of verbal cognition. How to handle the free word order language. Actually, handling free word order language like Sanskrit, where you can move the words around in any way, unlike in various manners, unlike in English where the word order is fixed. So all the technology that is developed was keeping in mind the fixed word order of English and other European languages, etc. And I had to develop a technology which can handle free word order. And I could get again insights from our tradition. So this was one of the challenges, that how to design a system which can handle free word order language like Sanskrit. Right. Even modern Indian languages to that effect, I can say, have most of the time a fixed word order. They're not as free. I mean, you cannot move the words as freely as in Sanskrit we can. So this was one of the challenges, and I'm again lucky here. Our tradition has given us the solution. So it was digging through the traditional texts which helped me. And here, everywhere, all my students were with me in this journey. Looking at these traditional texts, understanding them, because I was not having the enough background of Sanskrit grammar. And here, these students who came with the background in Sanskrit grammar we could share, we could discuss with each other, and we could then help each other. They didn't have the programming background, I didn't have the Sanskrit background, and as a team, then we worked together and the systems were built.
Wonderful. So, on that note, maybe you can share your screen now, perhaps, and help people who might not have seen Samsadhini to kind of just a small, quick guided tour, if you don't mind, of Samsadhini. Yes.
So
here we go.
Well, it has several tools, but let me. Okay, so this is my homepage of Samsadhini. And let me tell you that all these tools, whatever is available here, all these are the product of my students' PhD work. Okay.
Amazing.
So here you have the tools where you can do the analysis of a word. So given any Sanskrit word, it will provide its analysis, tell us what is the vibhakti, what is the number, etc.
Right. Let's maybe just see one example, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just anything.
So so let me type say, because I'm talking to Meg. So let me type Meghena, and then machine will give us the analysis, Megha as a Pullinga as well as Megha as Napunsaka, Tritiya Ekvachana. And if I click on this Megha, then it again tells me what are all forms of the word Megha, 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 etc. You can click on this word to get the dictionary. So Apte's dictionary says Megha as a Pullinga is Badal, and Megha as Napunsaka is Selikhadi something. Even I don't know what is its meaning in Hindi. I could not get. Then you have here Monier-Williams dictionary, where you can get the English meanings. If you would like to know the Paryayvachi Shabdas for Megha, what are the synonyms? You get here the synonyms of these. And
that is so cool. You can get synonyms and meanings across different dictionaries. Very cool. Yeah.
And I have also integrated the French dictionary, Sanskrit French dictionary. Let me also tell you that I have a long collaboration with the developer of this heritage website, Professor Gerard Huet from Paris. And we have under this collaboration, I am using some of his tools, and we have integrated these tools together and so on. So dictionary is part of it. So we can get the French meaning also. So this was the analysis. And here we have various generations. Okay. Then we also have the Sandhi, which I was talking about, given two words. Like Lakshmivan, suppose I enter here, and Shubha Lakshanaha, I enter here, then machine shows me what are the possible ways in which these two words can be joined together, and what are the sutras that are used and all that. So this is what I was talking about, the Sandhi tool, which was developed by the students from Tirupati. And then there are two other important things. One is the compound generator, and the other one is Nyaya Chitra Deepika. So this compound generator is again here. See, we say that Sanskrit grammar, Panini's grammar is all computational, and the sutras that are written are something like a program and all that. So we wanted to see, can we implement it? And we wanted to know what is the complexity of these sutras, computational complexity. That means how much time it will take. Whether it the complexity is measured in terms of, if there are n characters, will it take n milliseconds or whatever, n microsecond, or does it take n square or n cube and so on? That gives you the complexity of the task. So we found that we used very simple computational tools to develop this compound generator, which follows Panini's grammar rules. And we found that it is it's written using a lexical analyzer, which is very fast, which is linear in speed. It does not take much. It's not complex. So we found that Panini's rules can be implemented using a very simple tool, which is of a regular expressions, handling regular expressions. So the grammar is very simple from computational point of view. And this was developed by one of my students, Dr. Pavan, who is now working as a lecturer in assistant professor in Chinmay University, Chinmay Vishwavidyalaya. And here is another tool, Nyaya Chitra Deepika. All of us, again, there is always, people always say that Sanskrit is the best language for computers or whatever. And this was again, it started with Rick Brick's article on the Shabda Bodha. And the language of that Shabda Bodha is something which is very computational, in a sense that you can write, you can use it in two different ways. One is to represent the knowledge precisely, and it has its own structure. So unambiguously, you can parse it. So this Nyaya Chitra Deepika is a tool where you can parse such expressions and produce graphs, which are semantic graphs, which we can, from where we can understand the sentence structure or the definitions, if they are expressed in such a expression, can be understood very easily and so on, unambiguously. So this is something again is developed by another student by name Arjun, who is now in Manipal University. And there are various other tools. We have the Amar Kosha, then Atu Patha, developed by Shailaja, Amar Kosha by Shivaja. And then I will directly jump to there are here you will get all the thesis also. You can download the thesis.
Very nice.
All the PhD theses are provided here, so you can download and read them. Each one of them is on different topics, and all these are available as modules in my system. Now I will directly jump to this machine translation system. So let me go to, oh, sorry. I don't know where am I. Let me see if I can. Yeah. So here I have Tasya Sanjanayan Harsham Kuru Vruddhaha Pitamaha Simvanadam Vinadya Uchchai Shankam Dadmo Pratapavan. This is the slok from Bhagavad Gita, which I have taken. So suppose we want to understand this shloka. Okay. So let me see if I can give it to the. So I select the text type as shloka and I submit it. Let me also try here. Yes. So machine has done the analysis and it has produced a graph which.
That's so cool.
So which tells you that dadmau is the verb, shankam is the karma, uchchaihi it's karana. Actually, machine has gone wrong here. Simvanadam is karma for vinadya. And tasya harsham, shashti sambandha, harsham sanjanayan karma. Sanjanayan and dadmo, these are happening simultaneously in the present tense. And for dadmo, pitamaha is the karta. And Kuru Vruddha and Pratapavan are the Visheshanas for Pitamaha. So essentially this slok which we had given, machine has analyzed it completely. Various colors give you the vibhaktis, they stand for various vibhaktis. And with this graph, you can understand the semantics associated with this, this shloka. And we also can get the anvaya of it, Pratapavan Kuru, Pitamaha, Simvanadam Vinadya, Tasya Harsham Sanjanayan, Uchchaihi Shankam Dadmau. So, see here we had a slok where the words were not in the proper order. Now, machine has organized them and put the sentence in a proper order. So if you are familiar with Sanskrit, then this will be little easier for you to understand. Understanding shloka needs little more training. So we have these various tools. Some of the students are still working on improving upon these and so on. So this is just a glimpse of the tools that are available.
That's amazing that you have managed to, even in the, I would say, not hostile, but at least challenging circumstances that faces Sanskrit studies, at least in the last 20 plus years. This is concrete output, right? People can use and reuse, etc. Thank you so much, Dr. Kulkarni. Just one last question. In terms of usage statistics, do you see or do you measure how this is being used, or is it something that you are thinking about doing in the future? Is it important at all for you? That's one question. And second is, overall, what is the sense that you're getting? Are you seeing increasing interest in this kind of work, or it's more or less the same, or has it reduced? Do you see a better future ahead from the experience that you've had so far?
Okay, so if you see here, these are number of hits. So
Right.
it is reaching, touching almost 1 million now. So,
wow. Okay.
So this is of course since 2012. So in the last 10, 11 years. And of course, the graph is all increasing. I have not kept the history. So I do not have the details as such, but I know that the number of hits are now almost 300 to 400 users daily use it.
Oh, wow. Okay. 300 to 400. That's a reasonable number. Yeah.
For various purposes. Most of them use it more often for understanding the word, getting the word analysis. Many of them are also using it for understanding the sentences or splitting a given sentence into parts, compounds splitting, and so on.
Right. Okay, great. There is one question in the Q&A box which is open still. Okay. Is this tool available now for general public? Absolutely it is.
Yes.
You just need to, that's what Professor Kulkarni was showing it. And this is not something that she's built only for her own students or something. This is very much live and accessible. Everything that she showed right now is actually accessible. Is that correct, Professor Kulkarni?
Yes. Yeah. And not only the tool, but even the source code of it is also available. It is open source. So just a few days ago, I was looking at the size of the code. It is almost 50,000 lines of code.
Wow.
Written in various languages, because depending on the students' expertise, I allowed them to write in whichever language, programming language they could. So we have a heterogeneous system. It's not just monotonous written in one particular language. We have used Python, Perl, C, Java, JavaScript. You just name it and you will see that there is a code available in that language in my system.
Great. So Harini, who is one of the persons who's listening, and she says she uses the Sandhi splitter, morphological analysis, and meaning, etc. regularly. And there is Subhash Yadav who says, great and wonderful work done by Dr. Amba. Thank you very much for introducing Samsadhini to all of us. So clearly, even in our own group right now, we have people who are using it regularly, and people are recognizing the work that you have put in. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Kulkarni. I think this was just a quick conversation, I would say, though not very short, but to help people understand not just the tools and be introduced to them, but also some amount of the journey. And I think one of the points that you made really stayed with me, which is the need for building a strong base. You said you worked with people for a while before you actually started out doing. And I think in the times that we live, where shortcuts are kind of something that people look out for, yours seems to be a case where, there is a great success story at the end of that 12 years of work and patience that you must have shown at that stage in your life. thank you for your service, if I could use that word, because all of this is publicly accessible and for
No, it's,
everybody. And
yeah, actually, always I felt that whatever I do should be useful for the society. Because
wonderful. And
society is paying me for all my work, whatever I'm doing. So I should
that's
return
amazing.
it back to the society.
That's amazing. So this was really nice to have you, and maybe we could have a follow up to this conversation with some more specifics at a later time with you, and maybe perhaps with some of your students as well, to
That
kind
would
of
be
bring
great. Yeah.
specific tools into focus.
Sure.
Once again, I thank you for your time and best wishes. We look forward to Samsadhini growing in size and in its attributes and what it can do for users. Thank you so much, Dr. Kulkarni, for
Thank
making
you.
time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Namaste.
Yeah. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to interact with your group. Thank you.
Great. Dhanyavad.
Namaste.